Combat Sports Report continues. I am Gabe Morency. Let's do this thing. Let's talk some UFC. Let's bring in Zaffino right now. We're going back to the Apex this week, and there's a heavy theme to this week's card in which you've sort of got the gatekeepers, older veteran fighters that are sort of on the back end right now against a bunch of up-and-comers on this card. Yet we do have more than a few betting opportunities. Let's see what Tom thinks about this card. Tom, it's always a pleasure. Let's rock UFC Fight Night at the Apex. Do you like this card for betting purposes?
Yeah, this one's not too bad. We do have a lot of aging vets. A couple guys that are on their way out, probably going to be the last fight. It's just, it's the grind of the UFC schedule right now. We got a lot of like no-name cards, but last week's card didn't look great on paper. A lot of heavy favorites came through, which kind of hurts the betting side of it. It's hard to make money when it's just all favorites winning. But if you want to just bet all the favorites, I guess it's not so bad. But it was still a great card. It was a fun card last week. A lot of finishes. So again, I think this is kind of a similar card. We're going to see a good amount of finishes. There will be a lot of favorites probably that come through here, but there are a couple underdogs on this card that, would have a shot. So as always, it's a UFC card, and this is not a big name card, and we just kind of pick through the weeds and hope we can do what we do and cash some tickets.
Yeah, really when it's all said and done, that's all it's about is cashing tickets. And a classic example of sort of youth versus the veteran is the main event on this card. Are you surprised by the number here that it is such it's not a pick'em, but close to a pick'em, with Quillan being a minus 140 favorite over Gamrot? Were you surprised that that the younger fighter wasn't a bigger favorite?
I'm not really surprised. I thought the line would be pretty close. It's a really tough matchup. I mean, Salkilld has shown he can wrestle, but he's fighting a guy in Gamrot who that's kind of what in the last 4 or 5 fights, that's kind of all he wants to do is he wants to wrestle, take guys down. He's got very good takedowns. He's got very good control. He used to be a pretty solid striker. I mean, he is a solid striker, but he doesn't seem to want to use that anymore. But this is a situation here where, Salkilld can wrestle himself. Salkilld has, good striking. He's got a little bit of size advantage in this fight. He's looking great. But this is a real test. I mean, Gamrot is a real test. This is the best guy he's fought by a mile. So, yeah, I think the line should be pretty close. I mean, if Gamrot gets his takedowns going and Salkilld is only an offensive grappler and not great defensively, Gamrot can do some work in this fight. But I do think Salkilld is the better fighter. I do think when they're on the feet, he's the more dangerous guy at this point. He's the more willing striker. So I expect it to be a kind of a back and forth affair, but yeah, I mean, Salkilld is the rightful favorite, but I wouldn't, he shouldn't be a heavy favorite with the step up in competition here.
And it is a step up, and he has fought at home a lot, right? So this isn't a hostile environment at the Apex or anything like that, but he hits the road. You see this a lot with fighters like this where they'll lose, their first fight of their career, their second fight of their career, and then they just go on an absolute tear after. And Salkild's a classic example of this. Lost his first ever career fight and has rattled off 12 wins in a row. Won his Dana White Contender Series fight, and he's rattled off 5 in a row in the octagon. And he has fought. I mean, Dariush was a nice win for him. It's not like he hasn't faced anybody. So
right.
This is part of the, the step up in the ladder for him. But I'm going to go with the favorite here. And, you look at the total at 3.5 in this fight. How do you feel about that? The total's 3.5 right now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it probably goes long, especially if Gamrot has some success early with the takedowns. Up until, 3 or 4 fights ago, Gamrot he did have some threat on the feet. He did, we did see him get some finishes. He got a finish in his last fight, so you got to give him credit there. He got the arm triangle. So he is relatively dangerous. But for the most part, really since he fought Dariush probably 3 or 4 years ago at this point, he's just wanted to be a wrestling heavy guy. He kind of got pieced up in that fight, was not a good look for him. That was probably one of the worst beatings he's taken in the UFC. And that's probably why he's gone to more, I just want to grapple, I want to control. And you have two guys that really their base is grappling. So I expect this fight to go long. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw a finish here, but if we did, I feel like it would be kind of later in the fight. One of these guys just kind of starts slowing down. But yeah, I kind of like the overs in this one. I think there's a very good chance it goes all 5 rounds.
I do agree with Tom on that. I'll be betting the over 3.5 as well. The fight to go the distance, yes, is plus 135. But as Tom stated, I mean, this could be a late finish at some point. No is minus 170. So fight to go the distance, no, minus 170. Yes, plus 135. This next fight, though, completely different. I mean, you look at the total here. The total is 1.5, and I'm talking about with Quarantino and with Ferreira. Total is 1.5. Another one, Diego Ferreira is a minus 175 favorite in this fight. Billy hasn't fought in nearly 2 years. But one thing about Diego Ferreira fights, Tom, they do not go the distance. They do not last. You look at his last 5 fights, and none have gone the distance. Total is 1.5 in this fight. Ferreira's the favorite. As I stated, Billy comes back, has been off for nearly 2 years, returns to lightweight for this fight. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, this is a weird one because they are kind of both aging guys. Billy Q, he did technically say he was retiring after his last fight. He's taken a couple really bad losses. He has not looked good. He's one of those guys that kind of got by on grit. And as they get older in their career, you kind of see the shots start to land and start to hurt them more and more. And I feel like that's kind of what we saw with Billy. And right now, Diego's older, and, you can't necessarily be overly confident in him, but he is extremely dangerous. He's a well-rounded fighter. He's fought a lot of really good fighters in the UFC. And I think he probably puts Billy out here relatively early in this fight because I don't know what Billy's doing. Is he coming back for a paycheck or what the deal is? But, I mean, he's looked pretty bad in his last few fights. He just hasn't looked good. He said he was retiring, and then now he's back. So, yeah, I mean, I expect this fight to be violent, and I expect Ferreira to get the job done.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if this stayed under the 1.5, and you're actually getting some plus money with that. So under 1.5 is plus 115. Diego Ferreira minus 175, and it's hard to, that whole ring rust, cage rust, whatever you want to call it. It is real. I mean, it's not easy for a fighter to come back. We just saw it with Rodriguez, but it's not easy for a fighter to come back after a 20-month layoff.
Yeah, not only that, but coming back off of, looking career worse.
Losses. And also, like, a little bit different, too. Like, if you're an elite fighter, you're a former champion, it's rich, and you were off for 20. You know what I mean? It's a little different than, like you said, a guy that was getting killed at the back end. And it's just sort of coming back because they need some fighters, and they got a spot for them. And he figures, all right, I'll do this. So I'm with you on this. Like, I don't want to put words on, I don't want to place the bet for you, but it sounds like you like Diego in this fight.
Yeah, I like Diego. I think inside the distance, probably the safest way to go. I mean, he's minus 175, so you bet him inside the distance, you get a halfway decent price. You're not really fighting with the over 1.5 or the under 1.5. So, yeah, I think Diego by finish in this fight is probably the way I'd go.
Yeah, I tell you what, and also the fight not to go the distance, no, is minus 245. It's not bad parlay material, actually, for a couple of other spots on this card. More on the other side. Bring it.
Philly had issues elsewhere last year that were on full display in the playoff game against the Niners. They couldn't move the ball all game, and then they got in a 2-minute hurry-up drill, and they walked right down the field. Guys, Tom Brady would do Eagle games. Every single week he'd go, gosh, if they do some hurry-up. And then immediately they'd do some hurry-up, 2-minute warning, and they'd look like a completely different football team.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
You know, the dark days are ahead for the Warriors. And when Curry and Kerr and Draymond all leave, what are we going to be looking at that franchise that has been a mainstay of the NBA, you know, the face of the NBA and NBA playoffs for so long? Where are they going to be? So I see no issue with them bringing Draymond back. Why not? You have one last go at things with the trio that they still have there. But I see this as a very long season.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Just can't win the big game. He can't get us in the big game. Well, we got to let him go now because we're tired. We'll keep the quarterback. So, you know what I've been saying? Okay, you kept the quarterback. Guess what? Mr. Lamar Jackson, it's on you now.
Hey,
It's on you.
Absolutely.
Right? It's on Lamar.
It is. It is totally on him now and the new coaching staff there.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
I'd be looking to sell Louis Varland at this point just because his success has been great, but I'm also worried about how many more opportunities he's going to have given the dynamic of where the Blue Jays sit in the standings. You know, we've heard some rumors that they may be wanting to trade Jeff Hoffman, and it could open up a lot of opportunities for Louis Varland, but there's also nothing pushing the Blue Jays to continuously have out a great player when they're fighting for nothing when it's all said and done.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
And Combat Sports Report continues. We're breaking down the UFC Fight Night at the Apex this Saturday night. So the first two, the main event and the co-main event, are relatively priced. You know what I mean? Minus 140 for one fighter. Diego Ferreira's a minus 175 favorite. Now we jump into some of the bigger numbers right now with longtime veteran Darren Elkins. So as we talked about, there's a big theme to this card with sort of dudes in their early 40s taking on guys in their early 30s or sort of 20s still. A passing of the guard, gatekeeper, whatever you want to call it, and all that. But Elkins is still winning, actually, Tom. He is 2-1 in his last three fights. DeValle comes in here, one of these contender series fighters coming off his first UFC loss. This is going to be his fourth UFC bout. Minus 700 favorite. That's what just sort of stuck out to me here. What do you make of this? And the total is 1.5 in this fight as well.
Yeah, I mean, and Elkins he's put together a couple wins over the past, it's kind of been the past like 3 years. He's not fighting all that consistently, but he 2-1 in his last three fights. He lost his last fight. It did not look good at all. He's another guy that got by on grit. He's a really good wrestler. He can push a high pace, and if you can't keep up with that pace, he's gonna drown you. And the problem is his nickname is the Damage, and it's for a reason. He does damage, but he also takes a lot of damage, and we're seeing that add up. This is supposed to be his retirement fight, so I would expect him to come out and be his best version. And it's kind of weird with Divide because came into the UFC, looked pretty solid. Then he had that Isaac Dalgarian fight where, that's still, under investigation. It looked like Dalgarian, well, it's pretty clear Dalgarian through that fight. So he got an easy finish there. And then he came out in his last fight, kind of got ragdolled for 3 rounds, just got out wrestled by Jordan Levitt. So, I think he's actually a pretty good fighter. A lot of people are down on him because, you want a fixed fight. And then he just got beat over the course of 3 rounds. But I actually think he's a halfway decent fighter. I think he's got good scrambles. I think he's got, decent striking. So he should win this fight by all accounts. I mean, Darren Elkins, he is aging, and he has looked weathered over the past couple years despite that 2-1 record. Took a pretty bad knockout loss in his last one. So, but I expect him to come out and fight for it. And I'm actually kind of curious what the takedown numbers are going to be, because I think he could land 2 or 3 takedowns and kind of make this fight interesting. Overall, I think he probably ends up getting finished. I just don't think the cardio's there like it used to be. I don't think he takes damage well like he used to. So Device should win this fight. But I'm going to be looking at this from a prop perspective and from a live perspective because, if Elkins shows some life, maybe you get a decent price on him. I mean, obviously you get a decent price on him if you bet him pre-fight. But, in the fight, he might be a good live bet. Devay might be a good live bet if Elkins comes out and wins that first round. Gets some takedowns, looks
exactly.
good. But you'll have to see like how Elkins looks. Is he kind of fading? Is he taking damage? Maybe you get a better price on Devay. But I don't know. I'm kind of interested in the Elkins takedown prop. I think this fight ends in a violent fashion. I think it ends in a finish. Devay should win this fight. I do think he's a solid UFC level fighter, and Elkins is a guy that is on his way out, but it is his retirement fight. So, I mean, if anybody's going to show up for the retirement fight, it would be Darren Elkins. So I expect him to come out strong early, but overall, I just, the way he lost in his last fight, it's kind of concerning. And unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be the greatest end for him.
It's hard to fully predict what a fighter's going to do. And even a fighter, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face or they get taken down, etc. Things change. But I do agree with Tom. And, Elkins isn't coming. He doesn't want to get knocked out in the first round of his last fight, Elkins. Right? So he's definitely going to be shooting for some takedowns. So I'm just looking at that 1.5 more than anything. Thinking, you know what? Yeah, he's 42 years old, but I think he can give us 7.5 minutes here. Because I think he will be at his best in the first round. He'll start to wear as the fight goes, and he'll get tagged as the fight starts to go. But I think he can give us 7.5 minutes.
Yeah, I don't mind that look at all. I mean, if he does come out and, like I said, land a couple of those takedowns early, Devay's a guy that can be taken down. Obviously, we saw that in his last fight. Now, Jordan Levitt is a really good grappler, and he's a bigger guy. So, but I mean, Darren Elkins historically could take down pretty much any opponent he's fought. Even in that last fight where he got knocked out, I mean, he still landed a takedown early in that fight. Just didn't go well for him. So, I expect him to grapple for his life. And, even if he's getting beaten up, I guess it depends on the ref. But if the ref's going to let him kind of hang in there a little bit, he will hang in there. He's not going to quit. So, yeah, I think the over 1.5 is definitely live here.
And it's minus 115 on both sides, over under 1.5. Next up, we got a women's fight with a woman in Amanda Lemos has fought in everybody in this. She's even beaten the top fighters, but she is 2-4 in her last 6 fights right now. And Tanera is just one of these fighters that's been on a tear. She's a minus 245 favorite. Any opinion on that one?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a pretty close fight. This is another fight I'll be looking at the takedown line. If you can start the takedown ladder at 2.5 with Tainara, I will take that. Probably better up to like 4 or 5, because she, in all her fights, she's landed 3 or more takedowns, aside from the Meatball Molly McCann fight where she took her down and submitted her in the first round. There's nothing you can do about that. But Amanda Lemos, I mean, she's been taken down a lot in her career. I would expect Tainara to be able to land takedowns here. But Lemos is really tough. I mean, she's gone.
Yeah, she knows how to grind through fights, too. Like, I like the over this one. 5 of her last 6 fights have gone the distance.
And that's why I kind of like the takedown line, because if Tainara is getting those takedowns, I don't think she's going to submit her. I don't think she's going to beat her up ground and pound. I don't think she's going to finish her that way. I expect this fight to go all 3 rounds. So Tainara takedown ladder is the first thing I'm looking at. But I do think this fight goes over, and I think Lemos may be a good live bet too. I mean, she is tough. She's fought the best of the best. She might be good. She might be live here. So a live bet might be a good way to go.
We always talk about, listen, if we think a fight's going to go the distance, then, judges come into play, and then you never really know what can happen. Amanda is a plus 200 underdog right now. We'll get Tom's best bets on the other side. We'll hit the prelims. Bring it.
I'd be looking to sell Louis Varland at this point just because his success has been great, but I'm also worried about how many more opportunities he's going to have given the dynamic of where the Blue Jays sit in the standings. We've heard some rumors that they may be wanting to trade Jeff Hoffman, and it could open up a lot of opportunities for Louis Varland, but there's also nothing pushing the Blue Jays to continuously have out a great player when they're fighting for nothing when it's all said and done.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
You know, the dark days are ahead for the Warriors. And when Curry and Kerr and Draymond all leave, what are we going to be looking at that franchise that has been a mainstay of the NBA, you know, the face of the NBA and NBA playoffs for so long? Where are they going to be? So I see no issue with them bringing Draymond back. Why not? You have one last go at things with the trio that they still have there. But I see this as a very long season.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
Philly had issues elsewhere last year that were on full display in the playoff game against the Niners. They couldn't move the ball all game, and then they got in a 2-minute hurry-up drill, and they walked right down the field. Guys, Tom Brady would do Eagle games. Every single week he'd go, gosh, if they do some hurry-up. And then immediately they'd do some hurry-up, 2-minute warning, and they'd look like a completely different football team.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
Combat Sports Report, we're breaking it down with Tom Zaffino. We haven't hit the prelims yet. We've got a bunch of prelim fights on this card as well. Billy Goff and Ty Miller. Miller's a minus 350 favorite. Goff plus 275. Totals 2.5 in that fight. What are your thoughts on the prelims, and do any of these preliminary bout cards catch your eye?
Yeah, I think this is a fun prelim card. We start off with the Juliana Miller fight, taking on Ravina Oliveira. And,
first fight of the night.
Juliana Miller, come off the Ultimate Fighter. She's had kind of a hot and cold career. You know, she's basically a 500 fighter. But I do think overall, I mean, she's the grittier of the two fighters here. She's a minus 230 favorite. But I expect her to do some good work. I think she can get this fight to the ground. And when she gets to the ground, I mean, she's vicious. I mean, she throws a lot of strikes. She throws elbows. She does everything she can to finish a fight. And I think, Oliveira, she has some holes on the ground. And I think Juliana Miller is a good start to the night. I mean, you don't want to just bet her outright, but I do think she is a decent parlay piece. And then the next fight is the Manny Souza fight, and he's taking on Miranda, who's making his UFC debut, but he's fought, I think, 3 or 4 fights, championship fights on the regional scene, so a bunch of 5-round fights. Both guys come forward. Both guys are all action. Souza throws heavy power. I expect that fight to be a banger. I think if you can bet fight of the night, I think that might be the fight of the night. You might want to bet that. Second fight of the night could be the best fight of the night. So that's a fun one. And I think this whole prelim card, I mean, we've got a lot of upside for finishes here, but I'm parlaying those first 2 fights. I'm parlaying Souza with Miller on the money line. It's minus 110 right now. And I think they both win, and I think they both can get a finish. So by the time the fight gets here, I might bet them by finish, but I'm starting off with a parlay there with the first 2 fights of the night.
Like where you're going there, I got to ask you about the heavyweight tilt with the Vanilla Gorilla, Louis Sutherland, the dude that fought against Tuivasa and beat him actually in Ty's backyard, and he was sort of brought in for Ty to win the fight, and Louis ends up getting it done. Any thoughts on the heavyweight tilt here? Louis Sutherland, the Vanilla Gorilla, is a minus 155 favorite.
Yeah, I think Louis wins this fight. He probably finishes this fight. I mean, I don't think he is the greatest of heavyweights, but there's a lot of heavyweights in the UFC that just aren't that great. the guy he's fighting, I mean, we talk about, you don't know the names of these guys on the prelims. This guy's got like 5 different names. He goes by Jose Montana. He goes by Jose Souza.
I noticed this. He's Jose Luis on Sherdog, but he's
everywhere you look.
But he's listed by Montana by the sports books.
You go to a different sports book. The guy's got a different name. You're like,
that sounds kind of shady to me, bro. I don't really believe he's only fought 7 times. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like this guy's sketchy as all hell. I don't know how he flies. I don't know what his name is on his passport. I don't know how he gets through customs. But I expect Louis Sutherland to win this fight. I just think he's just another level. Not a guy that I'm like overly confident to bet, but I do think he probably wins this fight, and he probably wins by finish.
Tom Zaffino, great stuff, Tom. And after this, coming up next, we got the Machado Gary fight, right? We're back to a pay-per-view after these fight night cards.
Yeah, and that's an interesting one, man. That's a great main event. Machado Gary versus Makhachev.
Makachev's a minus 350 favorite right now. And we got a Canadian fighting for a championship. It's been a while since the Canadians fought for a strap. Robertson's a plus 190 underdog against Mackenzie Dern.
Yeah, and I think rightfully so. I mean, Dern's kind of got the jiu-jitsu to kind of stop the jiu-jitsu of Jillian. But that should be a fun fight to watch. I mean, that's going to be a lot of grappling in that one. Mackenzie might try to keep it on the feet, though. She's got a big advantage there. So I think Mackenzie gets it done in that one, but I think it will be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, Jillian dies on her sword, though. She's as tough as they
Absolutely.
come. Tom, always awesome stuff, my man. We'll see Tom online. You can find him online in his podcast and his picks and his live streams and more. Combat Sports Report on the SportsGrid Television Network.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
The dark days are ahead for the Warriors. And when Curry and Kerr and Draymond all leave, what are we going to be looking at that franchise that has been a mainstay of the NBA, the face of the NBA and NBA playoffs for so long? Where are they going to be? So I see no issue with them bringing Draymond back. Why not? You have one last go at things with the trio that they still have there. But I see this as a very long season.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
Philly had issues elsewhere last year that were on full display in the playoff game against the Niners. They couldn't move the ball all game, and then they got in a 2-minute hurry-up drill, and they walked right down the field. Guys, Tom Brady would do Eagle games. Every single week he'd go, gosh, if they do some hurry-up. And then immediately they'd do some hurry-up, 2-minute warning, and they'd look like a completely different football team.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
They come in a lot more better prepared to play than, say, we did, having to learn some of the things that we learned coming into the NFL that we weren't learning in college. A lot of these kids are getting quarterback coaches, as far back as junior high school and all the way through high school into college. So I think the position is a lot more stronger than it's ever been.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Somebody ring the bell. The Combat Sports Report has begun. I am Gabe Morency on the SportsGrid Television Network, Roku, and much more. Let's do this thing. We got a fun show lined up, as we always do every week. And we're stoked to welcome back a fighter that has to be super excited to be throwing it down at the cathedral. That is Fenway Park. We're super excited for this card. The Summer of Violence tours continued for BKFC throughout the globe, from Uruguay to Naples, England. We're going to Sturgis this week. We've got Fenway Park coming up. BKFC is just kicking some serious ass, and we're now joined by a man who's been kicking some serious ass in BKFC. He's going to be throwing it down on the 29th at the Cathedral. Peter Barrett steps up and in. Slippery Pete, welcome back to the program, my man. Thanks a lot for taking the time to be with us.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's I love coming on the show and chopping it up with you guys. But Fenway Park is is a dream come true. Never once did I ever think that I'd have an opportunity to fight on the field at Fenway Park. It's just, there have been plenty of fights there and plenty of amazing things between the Red Sox and the Yankees that have ended in fisticuffs. But now these will be the first sanctioned fights out there, and I'm going to be a part of it. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I almost want to ask you that. Have you ever been in a fight at Fenway before? As a fan.
Sure. I'm sure. I don't remember anything offhand.
After a couple of drinks. You've been to a lot of games. Yeah.
I've definitely gotten into fights out at bars over the Red Sox. But actually at Fenway, I don't think so. But who's to say something like that might have happened and I might not remember. But yeah, the Red Sox, the Fenway, all of this is just I get more goosebumps thinking about Fenway than I do about fighting or my opponent. And it's just
I got goosebumps when I heard the card. Yeah, when I heard about the card, I was like, oh my God. And it really did, pardon the pun, but it did come out of left field, because I spoke to some fighters that were fighting and they were just told, yeah, you're going to be fighting in Boston. They didn't even know it was going to be Fenway. So it just sort of blew them away. And, what a score for the company, isn't it? And for Dave and just for BKFC. I mean, the UFC had their White House card. If you ask me personally, where would I rather do a show, Fenway Park or the White House? I'm saying Fenway Park, bro. White House is cool, but Fenway Park, man, doesn't get cooler than that.
No, I mean, it's the oldest baseball stadium in the U.S. There's a ton of history there. There's a ton of mojo, if you will. A lot of legends have walked through that arena, have competed on that platform. And, like I said, never in a million years did I think I would be a competitor out there on that field, throwing down, doing what I do best. Countless games that I've been to with my dad and my brothers and my family, to watching the Red Sox. I graduated high school in 2005. I turn 40 next week. I'm no spring chicken, but my 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007 was when the Red Sox broke that big old curse and started winning again. So I was a part of all that. High school kid in Boston, going away to college, being really proud about being from Boston. And, I just lived through that visceral experience. And now to have that come back and pay it forward to be able to go fight there, it's just incredible.
And I got to imagine, too, there were some people, when you said, yeah, I'm going to start doing bare knuckle stuff, this is the almost I told you so moment, huh? As far as what the company's accomplished here, getting a card at Fenway, your phone had to be blowing up. Everybody's going to want tickets now. You're going to have to shut your phone off, bro, a week before this, really, to get locked down.
Yeah, well, thankfully, with the tickets, because it's at Fenway, everything's going through the MLB, which means it'll probably take a little bit longer for us to get paid. But I don't have to do physical tickets. It's a link. It's a dedicated link with my name. They get a discount for using my link. I get credit for the sales. And, every week I get an update on how many tickets I've sold. And it's been an incredible amount of support. I've got a ton of people coming out to watch me fight. My goal for this event, for this venue, was 30 grand in ticket sales. And I'm getting pretty close already. And I still have another 3.5 weeks.
What's the link for people? People tuning in right now, what's the link for you?
So if you guys are tuning in, you can jump onto my social media. You can jump on to my Instagram or my Facebook. I have the links up there with the code. But the code, for the discount code for me to get credit, it would be my last name with one T. So it's BARRET, all capital letters. I think that'll save you 15% on tickets, and then the fighter will get credit for the ticket sales.
Awesome stuff. And it's great to see MLB involved with this and promoting it as well. The Red Sox have been promoting this. You talked about your pride, and there's a ton of Bostonians on this card, a lot of local fighters on this card. And I don't, there's a few cities. People are prideful everywhere, but there's certain cities where it's next level, and Boston is one of them. And I didn't know if Kai Stewart was going to get out of the building alive last week after the press conference. Like, I've never seen so many fighters that aren't fighting a dude basically go, you know what, I really don't like you. And full disclosure, Kai comes on this show. He plays his part. He is who he is.
For sure.
But, man, he got under your skin, a lot of guys' skin. I thought Rico was going to jump over the table and, like, really start going.
At the end of the day, that's what I said to him. I said, hey, I don't think it's going to happen, but if you happen to make it through Harry, you're going to have to deal with that fucking psychopath in front of you. And if you don't know who Rico is, you're going to find out real soon, and it's going to be a bad day. You're going to have a bad day, my man. And it's just like I've been training with Rico for 10, 15 years. You know what I mean? And he's still one of those people that's like, it's not like we have good rounds, we get good rounds, but it's not a round that I look forward to. Like, we're going to have to work really hard. We're going to beat the shit out of each other when we're getting that work in, you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, it's good to get work with Rico, but at the same time, you're like, oh man, I got to get work with Rico.
Is he like that every day? Because, there's some dudes you can almost feel like it's not real, but with him, I almost think like he's holding it back, and he would say crazier stuff if he could. Like, you know what I mean?
Him and I both, like, there was a lot of things that were running through my head that I wasn't saying, and I was trying to, not get too worked up in the moment. But I mean, at one point, Rico was like, dude, if you don't shut your mouth, I'll have 100 people waiting out front to kick your ass when this fucking thing's over. Like, a phone call like that, people will be here. Oh, they're talking shit out of town, says fuck Boston. You'll get everybody out front waiting for him. Just like you said when we started. No, it's not.
Not a game to him. Yeah.
What I noticed is when, that clip went pretty viral. So, everybody on the BKFC post was like, oh, people from Boston suck, like this, that, and the next thing. They don't get it, da-da-da-da. And then when you go to like the local media that also put that up, that went pretty viral, you see everybody from Boston like, yep, that's exactly what we're talking about. Like, I grew up in a time where you couldn't wear Yankees stuff around Boston without having to throw hands. Like, you couldn't wear Yankees jersey, you couldn't wear a Yankees hat unless you were like right outside Fenway Park, walking into Fenway Park, and even then it could be on site. And this kid's out here saying fuck Boston, you guys are all soft, this, that, the next thing. So I just, I felt like it was a golden opportunity to tell him to shut his mouth. And I'm going to carry that energy towards him when I see him in the future too. You know what I mean? Like, now there's a beef. Now I'm going to have a hell of a lot of fun with it.
But you got Elijah Harris coming up, and one thing about Elijah, he wants to bang all 4 of his fights. None of them have gone the distance, bro. And as a fighter, you must like that, knowing, all right, this guy just wants to come and bang.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fighter's fighter. I'm a fan. I fight for the fans. I put on a big show. I come out there going 100 miles an hour for all 10 minutes. I've got the gas tank to fight 5-minute round championship rounds for MMA. The 5 2-minute rounds for BKFC are like almost like a walk in the park. Like, I'm not going to get tired. I'm going to bring the heat. And I'm going to put this boy down early.
Pete, it's always a pleasure having you on the program. I know you're busy. Phone's blowing up. You're doing interviews and stuff. Can't wait to see this card come to fruition at the legendary Fenway Park. Best of luck, my man. It's always a pleasure catching up with you.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate you having me on.
There's Peter Barrett, Slippery Pete Barrett, with us. Fenway Park, August the 29th. It's going to be fireworks, man, like literal fireworks as the hostility is building. And this is great stuff. BKFC this is like the most mainstream publicity they're getting because of the Red Sox involvement, because of Major League Baseball involvement. So good on Major League Baseball for getting involved with this as well. Combat Sports Report continues. We've got some UFC best bets, videos of the week, and more. You know how we roll on the SportsGrid Television Network. All right, thanks to Slippery Pete Barrett for kicking it with us. BKFC Fenway Park doesn't get much cooler than that, but BKFC really has been on just such a roll this year, and the events just keep getting stacked up right now. As I see they're returning to Newark, BKFC 95 Newark, October the 17th, and Newark, the Prudential Center, always one of their bigger cards of the year. They do 2 big cards a year in Philadelphia, and they like to do at least 1 or 2 a year in Newark as well on the East Coast. But, of course, they're going to Fenway Park as well. Hollywood, Florida, Perdomo is back, 11-0. Perdomo is back. Hollywood, Florida. That's September the 11th against Garrett. So a lot of big fights coming up, including, of course, Darren Till. Darren Till is perfect for BKFC. He just wants to fight. He just wants to throw. He wants to bang. And he's a good interview, too, right? He talks a lot of smack, and he is getting BKFC a lot of attention, specifically in England, and they're capitalizing on it. BKFC 94 is going to be in Manchester. As cool as it gets, man. Till versus Romero in Manchester, and they had their press conference / their meet and stare down, and it turned out to be, like baseball right now, you get these dudes that like they'll do like the national anthem, and then after they won't leave, like, you know what I mean? And they do the old stare down and stuff. The other day, an umpire broke it up and got all mad about it, but it's become a little fun thing in baseball. This really wasn't fun, but neither dude would leave, right? It was one of those, and you could hear Dave Feldman, the president, saying, all right, guys, all right, turn around now. Okay, all right, that's enough. That's enough now. Like, all right, we're done. And they had no, it was like he wasn't even there. It was like, yeah, I'm not leaving, and I'm not stopping. I'm not being the first one. And then it got to the point where security had to get involved to, like, break it up. They weren't fighting, but it was like, all right, guys, like, it's over. Like, you guys will see each other when you fight now. And then it continued, like, after the fact. It's actually one of the strangest and coolest things ever. So they literally had a stare down for, like, 3.5 minutes. Here it is.
Expect violence. Pure, unadulterated violence. September 26th, AO Arena.
So you already heard Feldman say, all right, turn around, guys. Good job. That's enough.
Finally, we see Yoel Romero and Darren Till. No gloves, pure violence. BKFC 94.
All right, there's the second time he tries to, like, turn him around, fail.
Face forward, guys. Let's go.
All right, third time.
The tension is palpable here, folks.
Come on.
Fourth time.
Could this be the biggest fight in BKF's history? Could this be the biggest fight all year long? Until Yoel Romero, Manchester.
Don't touch me.
Face forward, guys.
Again. All right, face forward. No. They're not playing either. It's somewhat cool. It's not like cheesy. It's like, nah, I'm not leaving.
A legendary matchup. Till and Romero.
Feldman's giving up now. He knows. Okay, I got no control.
BKFC.com. We will be live worldwide on DAZN. Darren Till, Yoel Romero. Don't miss it. We'll see you September 26th here in Manchester.
Let's go, guys. Face forward, gentlemen. All right, guys. Good. Thanks, guys.
He's up to like the 9th time now asking him. All right, they're done. But are they? That was epic. That really was epic. You'd think, no, we can't watch a 4-minute stare down, but evidently we could. Like Feldman, I believe it was like after the 9th time, he said, yeah, all right. I don't think they're going to listen to me here. Romero, 1 point. Hey, don't touch me. Like, Feldman was like, okay. Hey, Romero, hey, don't touch me, man. Don't touch me. At the end, too. No, I don't fight him. That was just too epic. All right, we're up against it right now, but it's fight week in Sturgis this week. We had Atchison on. We had Mike Jones on. Sturgis fight week. Let's roll.
It is going to be another special night here at the Buffalo Chip. We have a fully loaded card.
And down goes Watson again. We might be done, and we are. A bad left hand to get on the turn of Jones, and that drops Steve Campbell. He's out. That's it. That's a green knockdown. Oh, they just get up. No, that's it. There's Fido away. That is it. Game over. This fight is over in our home state of South Dakota.
I'd be looking to sell Louis Varland at this point just because his success has been great, but I'm also worried about how many more opportunities he's going to have given the dynamic of where the Blue Jays sit in the standings. You know, we've heard some rumors that they may be wanting to trade Jeff Hoffman, and it could open up a lot of opportunities for Louis Varland, but there's also nothing pushing the Blue Jays to continuously have out a great player when they're fighting for nothing when it's all said and done.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
You know, the dark days are ahead for the Warriors. And when Curry and Kerr and Draymond all leave, what are we going to be looking at that franchise that has been a mainstay of the NBA, you know, the face of the NBA and NBA playoffs for so long? Where are they going to be? So I see no issue with them bringing Draymond back. Why not? You have one last go at things with the trio that they still have there. But I see this as a very long season.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Philly had issues elsewhere last year that were on full display in the playoff game against the Niners. They couldn't move the ball all game, and then they got in a 2-minute hurry-up drill, and they walked right down the field. Guys, Tom Brady would do Eagle games. Every single week he'd go, gosh, if they do some hurry-up. And then immediately they'd do some hurry-up, 2-minute warning, and they'd look like a completely different football team.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Combat Sports Report continues. It's time for our videos of the week. And, of course, Paddy Pimblett, very, very impressive performance a couple of weeks ago. And Paddy's diet has become a thing of legend in the mixed martial arts world, as, you know, a lot of fighters, you know, with the protein shakes and vegetables, and there's a lot of fighters and athletes that, you know, are very conscientious about what they put in their body. And then there's Paddy Pimblett, who basically balloons up and looks anything but like a championship contender fighter when he's not in training. And then he goes through these vicious weight cuts, actually, and looks like a stud and looks great in the octagon. And then he goes right back to crushing the fast food after. And God bless him, because I got to tell you, this is a kick-ass looking box that he found.
Finally got me chance. There you go. Nice one, lad. Thank you very much.
Look at this.
Woo. Oh, lad, I've been waiting for one of these for fucking ages, you know. So what are you, lad?
So you got your National Triple Sando, famous chicken burger, the new bodega subs.
The new, yeah, that new sub looks heavy.
Smash bitch, that cut up beef, and then you've got your smash burger and a toast. And that's what's up. And your mashed potatoes.
The mac and cheese croquette, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try them these first. Yeah, that's Harry. Yeah, that's chicken. It's proper heavy.
That chicken does look pretty good. I think if I'm ever in England, I got to check that food truck. Check that food truck out. But I think it's a share box, and he just absolutely, he's just going to crush it on his own. And, you know, I've sat with UFC fighters before, like, and eaten with them and stuff like that, like with heavyweights, and it is, like, kind of crazy and stuff. Like, I saw one dude, like, order a full chicken. Like, I ordered, like, the quarter breast type deal, like, in the fries, and, like, this dude ordered, like, the entire chicken, like, he ordered, like, the family thing. It was, like, 4 sides, the whole chicken and stuff, and he crushed it, man, in, like, 15 minutes. It was like a carcass after. There was nothing left after the fight. But the thing is, this was, like, a big-ass heavyweight type of dude who was all ripped, and he was into, like, you know, he was into his body and stuff like that. Paddy Pimblett's not like a massive dude. Like, he just turns into this sort of blob of, like, fat and lard, and then, you know, I don't know, works it off, wins, and goes back to crushing the fish and chips after. All right, yeah, I don't know, like, Rudy Gobert already gets called out enough as it is. So I don't know if it's going to help his case. And Cyril Gahn is basically schooling Rudy Gobert, but Cyril Gahn can ball, evidently. There's Cyril Gahn and Rudy Gobert. Seems like Rudy's kind of backing off a little bit, though, huh? See, Gahn should teach him a couple of fighting tricks, and Gobert, who people always call a soft and this and that and stuff, could just really, like, punish and start beating the crap out of people. All right, we got an update, Connor. And so Connor's he went in for surgery, and we wish him the best of luck and stuff, but only Conor McGregor could somehow turn his wish me luck, I'm going into surgery in a couple of minutes, into a promo for one of his energy drinks.
So folks, it's the Mike off to get surgery today, so wish me well. I'm going to fuel up with a Mike energy today. I'm going to love the orange creamsicle. Let's go, we got this.
I'm going to fuel. Hey guys, wish me luck. I just made $15 million and upset you all. Wish me luck going over surgery. And don't forget to, I got, like I said, clean energy too. clean energy. All right, this is kind of gruesome, actually, if you're not into, like, nasty injuries. This is why fighters, you should not jump off the top of the cage after you win a fight.
Stop!
He won the fight. Oh, man. Tough dude, eh? Like, he's just casually, his ankles, like... Just not worth jumping off the top of the cage, guys. I don't care what country you're in. Combat Sports Report continues on the SportsGrid Television Hour.
Welcome to the world of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, the oldest and the newest combat sport. Bare Knuckle Fighting had its last champion in 1889, ending the sport's chaotic beginning without weight divisions or round limits and no referees. Over a century later, Bare Knuckle